Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Simmons with AIM, and welcome to our recap video of week 4 of the 2022 session of the Indiana General Assembly. We're joined today by the AIM legislative team of Jenna Nepper, Campbell Ritchie, and newly sworn in attorney Chris Spandy. Welcome, guys. Let's dig, and congratulations, Chris. Let's dig right into it. This upcoming week is a big week as it's the last week for bills to be passed in their house of origin. If they don't clear the first house, they are in essence dead for the session. So therefore, today's recap is a little bit longer. So please stay with us for a few extra minutes today as we try to get through a few extra bills. But we'll kick it off today with our usual and maybe not so favorite lead-in topic, the business personal property tax. We still have some pretty serious concerns about where this issue is headed. But there was a positive sign this week in the Senate that they do continue to understand our underlying concern that replacement revenue must be part of any discussion that considers partially eliminating this tax. So Jenna, is that a fair statement?
Yeah, absolutely, Jennifer. So while we know this is going to be a session-long conversation because of House Bill 1002 already passing the House, Senate Bill 378 was the Senate version of a bill contemplating business personal property tax, and it was scheduled for an amendment vote in Senate Tax and Fiscal this week, but Chairman Holdman didn't move the bill, and even kind of more so and important to the conversation is he made some strong public comments about we need to ensure local governments are made whole. And also with House Bill 1002, when it passed out of Ways and Means, Chairman Brown reiterated a few times that, you know, on the phase out of new equipment, that AV growth could potentially replace that revenue that's lost. And Senator Holdman in his comments said that AV growth isn't a replacement mechanism, which appeared to be kind of a direct refute of that talking point coming out of the House. And so I think that's going to be central to the conversation because you know, we also agree with Senator Holdman that AV growth can't replace any reduction in revenue, which would occur if the version of the bill in the House moves forward. So I will say Senator Holdman was quoted in the IBJ with similar comments. He did mention that there could be an ongoing conversation around the exemption. As you'll recall, in previous sessions, the exemption has doubled from 20,000 to 40,000. Now it's up to 80,000. He had mentioned an effort to continue to help small businesses, taking a look at increasing that to 100,000. So I think the conversation's not done on business personal property tax. We really appreciate Senator Holdman's comments in committee, but I think we'll have to see how the conversation goes in terms of the AV growth on new equipment and the small business exemption, as they call it in the Senate. So more to come, I'm sure, but a positive step in that Senate Bill 378 did not move.
And, you know, since you did mention we're still very concerned about House Bill 1002, just a reminder that we do have the Replace Don't Erase Coalition, our partnership with about 15, 16 organizations like ours, recipients of the business personal property tax. This coalition is constantly trying to remind lawmakers that replacement revenue is absolutely critical to anything that moves forward this session, and you can learn more about that at aimindiana.org/BPPT. So we highly encourage everyone, if you haven't already, to visit that site and see what you can do to help make the case to legislators before this gets much further down the road. We'll shift gears. Next up, Jenna, talk about eminent domain. So this is a tool that municipal governments used to manage growth and development. It's often the target of legislation. We've talked about House Bill 1106 a few times this session already, but it's moving through the process and probably worth an update today.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we've talked a lot about eminent domain. I think there were 6 or 7 bills filed dealing with different aspects of how eminent domain is working for municipalities specifically. And House Bill 1106, I will say is the most concerning. This is authored by Representative Goodrich. It passed out of the House this week. It's very similar to legislation that passed out of the House last session. Ultimately, what would occur with it if this bill were to become law is anytime a municipality were to use eminent domain outside their corporate boundaries, they would have to get the approval from the county commissioners. And not only that, it creates a mechanism by which the property owner can challenge the county commissioners' findings, which is a new avenue to ultimately challenge municipalities' projects moving forward. This is a major concern for those municipalities who extend utility services beyond their corporate boundaries, because this would apply to things like utility easements and important infrastructure outside those corporate boundaries. So we worked with Senator Buck earlier this session on his Senate Bill 29 dealing with eminent domain. He did send his bill to Representative Goodrich, and Representative Goodrich did send House Bill 1106 to Senator Buck. So ultimately, it's going to come down to us working with those two bill authors to hopefully prevent this language from moving forward because of the impact it will have on utilities. So I anticipate, given that there's another bill, Senate Bill 288, dealing with eminent domain and attorney's fees, that this is going to be a session-long conversation on our ability to use eminent domain and what we can, how it will impact the cost of projects moving forward. So more to come, certainly one to talk about with your legislators in the coming weeks.
Yeah, and let's continue on with kind of that development theme. TIF is another tool that municipalities use for development. TIF is also a topic we unfortunately have to talk about on these videos and in our legislative summary week by week during the sessions, often the target of negative legislation. But this year, we have some positive to report along with those bills that concern us in terms of TIF. Jenny, want to kick off the TIF discussion? And then I think Campbell's got some things to add as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're right, Jennifer. It truly is a mix of good and bad, mostly good this session. And I think first talking about Senate Bill 361, this is the IEDC's agency bill. As introduced, this would have allowed the IEDC to designate any area within a county or municipality as what they're calling an innovation development district, which is essentially a TIF district where the revenue would go toward the state. We've been meeting with Senator Mishler and the IEDC to talk about this bill, and it was amended in appropriations this week. So the amendment essentially says that these new innovation development districts can't come on top of existing allocation areas, often referred to as that pancake TIF concept. So that was, to us, a step in the right direction. We do think this bill creates a framework by which neat projects will come to cities and towns, but there's still some, I'd say, technical issues we'd like to sort out with Senator Mishler and the IEDC in terms of the local unit's role in opting in to when these areas are designated as one of these districts, how the infrastructure is paid for, including utilities, when these developments are going to need those utilities for those projects, and just the general timing of it. So we want to be partners in this conversation and continue to sort out the details of the agreements between the IEDC and the local units of government. But overall, a neat framework, just some mechanics that we need to sort out. And then two positive TIF bills are making their way through the process. Senate Bill 4 from Senator Holdman deals with, we're calling it the Talent TIF bill. It's a really positive bill that allows local units of government to create programs that are aimed at retaining and recruiting workforce to their cities and towns. There's been a pilot project. I know the mayor of Greensburg, Mayor Marsh, came and testified in support of this bill, but it would allow you to use TIF dollars for these types of programs, which I think just highlights our need for workforce in the state of Indiana. That passed the House or the Senate unanimously. And then Senate Bill 184 is deals with the housing TIF statute, again from Senator Holdman. This would remove the requirement that a school board member has to sign off on these housing TIF projects. This is still on the second reading calendar. There have been a few amendments floated, but for now it's in a good spot and we support the bill. But that does bring us to one bill that I think Campbell's going to talk about, where we're certainly looking for feedback from our members on in terms of the impact to their TIF districts.
Yeah, and that bill is House Bill 1246. This was a bill about fire protection territories that was unrelated to TIF, but on the last day of Ways and Means Committee, they amended in language that would exempt the levies from the fire protection territories from the TIF, the same way the fire protection districts are currently exempted, and also allow up to 15% of the TIF revenue to go to operating expenses for public safety, police and fire, that is. And so because this is an existing practice for the fire protection districts, we know that some of you may be used to dealing with it, and the fire protection territories are more opt-in than other sorts of taxing units are throughout the state. However, we know this is going to have an impact on local units, especially those who are in fire protection territories or are contemplating using that to meet your public safety needs. So we are looking for feedback on how significant this is going to be. Right now, we don't think it's in a great place, but we do want more feedback throughout the state on those fire protection territories and how this will impact your ability to do economic development in conjunction with those.
Kim, would you real quick, how do you want to receive that feedback? Should people just email you directly?
That's right. Email me or call me any way that you know to get a hold of me. I'm usually pretty available.
Thanks, Campbell. I don't think we've talked about it here in this video yet this session, but the Dlgf bill, which is, as it sounds, a bill pursued by the Department of Local Government Finance. That bill normally has several cleanups and technical changes initiated by the department. This year, AIM has some language in the bill, and so far, so good. Campbell, why don't you walk us through that?
Yeah, so House Bill 1260 is authored by Representative Leonard, and it's the Dlgf bill, agency bill, which always starts out as just the initiatives the Dlgf wants, but it's one of these Christmas tree bills where everyone likes to tack on things as it goes through the process. So we have to watch it as it changes every year. But as it came through the House this year, we're seeing really positive things in the Dlgf agency bill. One of their initiatives, Dlgf's initiatives, which is also one of AIM's initiatives, is to eliminate the trending on the remaining cumulative funds so that you don't have to reestablish those in years where you have a significant AV change. So that's a really positive step. And also Representative Leonard included language on property tax appeals to make the process for those appeals more friendly to local units of government. So those are two very positive things in the Dlgf bill. Obviously, it is an evergreen home for all sorts of language that could be positive or negative for local units of government. So we'll continue monitoring it and update you if anything not helpful goes into it.
Okay, thanks. All right, for the last several years, public entities have grappled with the need to sort of balance the move to more digital and web-based formats with the need to ensure that all of their constituents have access to their local government. So Chris, there are two bills that you've been engaged on regarding public notices, postings. Maybe touch on both bills and where they are in the process and what our position is on each of those.
Yeah, certainly. And thank you, Jennifer. Like you said, there are two bills. They were both heard in the Senate's Local Government Committee. That first bill is Senate Bill 283, authored by Senator Buck. Originally, this bill would have given local governments the option to post notices on their website instead of publishing the notices through the local newspapers. We did testify in support of the bill and the cost savings that it would provide for local units of government. However, Senator Buck did amend the bill in committee into a summer study committee after receiving some pushback on the original language from the Hoosier Press Association. So we're going to continue to follow this summer study bill as it's going through the rest of session and hopefully have a seat at the table if it gets assigned to a study committee this interim. And the bill did pass out of committee 8-0. And then the next bill is Senate Bill 237, which is authored by Senator Bainline. And this would require local governments to post notices and agendas, if there is an agenda, on their local government or agency website 48 hours in advance, as well as maintaining that original posting in the newspaper. The bill does specify the notice and agenda can be posted on a social media website, and that an official website cannot charge a fee to access that notice or the agenda. The posting requirement isn't ideal, and we're going to continue to follow this legislation as it moves on, and we're going to try to work with Senator Bainline on it. And that bill did pass out of the committee 7-0.
Great, thanks, Chris. Well, if you have not registered for the legislative dinner on February 8th, registration is closed on our website, but if you were hoping to attend, you can call our office to inquire about available space. We have a great program planned with Governor Holcomb and several hundred municipal officials, corporate partners, and legislators, of course. So hope to see you on February 8th. As I mentioned, this is almost the halfway point. Next week means we are at the halfway point of the legislative session. So that means taking a look at that tracking list at the bottom of legislative summary is really critical. We're nearing the point where if we don't have feedback, it may be really tough for us to weigh in on certain bills. So please take a look at the tracking list and let us know immediately if you have any major concerns about a bill that we have not addressed with you yet this session. That's all for this week. We will be back next week, probably with another big recap as we turn the corner on the 2022 legislative session. Thanks.